Welcome to another episode of the digital marketing blog, Business 101 and the music industry. This month's episode, we're going to be talking about traditional advertising. So, according to a recent IBIS World Report, there are close to 13,000 advertising and marketing companies employing almost 170,000 marketing professionals. But the Bureau of Label Statistics that there are more than 2.6 million supporting workers for that industry, advertising, marketing, promotion, including sales managers, producers, animators, art directors, actors, editors, writers, and graphic designers, okay? Along with many other professionals that have direct input in the creation, management, and monitoring of ads for print, radio, film, broadcast, TV, cable, and the internet. Now, a good advertising campaign can certainly help larger companies that can afford to budget for expensive production and extensive coverage to launch, grow, and innovate as they cycle and mature through the business cycles. They can purchase multiple branding channels of communication and saturate the market so a consumer's mind is filled with the basis. That's pervasiveness of mind at the point of sale will stimulate the consumer at the point of buy from need to want, which accounts for 2/3 of all purchases at the malls and in general as at the economy. Now, today's agencies know this and charge a standard 15% commission on their media buys. This accounts for 2 to 3% of the entire GDP of the United States, $17 trillion, okay? Now, their advertising effectiveness depreciates by 30% within a short 12-month cycle. From 300 to 500 billion dollars in advertising spend is split 60% nationally and 40% on local markets. Now, among the various mediums are as follows. We have 23% of the time on print advertising and marketing. Although the general consumer is only engaged in that activity 42% on TV, as it should be, considering that the average American spends 44% of the time watching the tube, 22% advertising on web, reflecting the average of 26% of their free time, and 10% of the ads go to radio, which takes up 14% of the consumer's free time. Last but not least, 2% of the money goes to mobile, which is expected to grow from its current 12% of our free time to more than 50%, in part due to the Internet of Everything. We're talking about wearables and watches and smartphones and smart TVs and smart cars. Now, by the way, mobile advertising is expecting to grow this year to almost $400 billion in ad expenditures and account for more than 10% of all retail sales. So, how do companies and advertising agencies decide where to spend $250 billion? Well, they segment the 350 million US population into geographic, demographic, psychographic, and signographic categories, conduct market and marketing research to determine message, tone, voice, reach, frequency, and distribution variables for the right campaigns and media buys. And of course, geographic data, right? Those fields are standard fields, country, state, city, state, zip code, area code. But things get a little bit more sensitive when you're talking about demographic data. Now, demographic data variables are like gender, male, female, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual, right? Or even religion or ethnicity, language, education, income levels, right? That's kind of a little more sensitive, right? Now, we're all familiar with age, okay? And those are simple categories that we even have a hard time with. Think about the other ones, right? A lot more sensitive. Now, that's demographic data. Now, let's take a look at psychographic and signographic attributes. They're given to lifestyle purchasing options like attitudes, beliefs, social versus self-image, as it relates to the purchasing decisions made as keeping up with the Joneses and the psychology of impulse buying. As we move to traditional advertising explanation, let's go ahead and remind you, a good marketer will wear many hats, but a great marketer will bring many heads to the table, including Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Marketing Officer, the Chief Information Officer, as well as the Chief Financial Officer to the round table for strategic and tactical agreement. Now, perhaps your company is not that large, and in fact, you are the one and only. So, whether you have a team or you're on your own, you have to deal with the marketing, the accounting, the operations of the company. So this report is important for you, especially if you wear many hats. In fact, large companies utilize not only the human resources capability to expand exponentially and that quickly, but also the technological innovation and advances like ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, PeopleSoft, SAP, Lotus Notes, Siebel, Salesforce on the cloud, and many others, depending on their relationships or their industries. Now, many of these tools have allowed small business ideas to blossom through what many have called the data store. Now, the Industrial Revolution streamlined the production of goods by centralizing the production of goods in the factory floor. The Digital Revolution has aggregated the intellectual service tools on the cloud. And now most companies are protected from expensive internal solutions that require challenging API for integrations. Now, these are now simply provided by turnkey solutions that increase your productivity and decrease your operating costs by scaling at will. Now, traditional marketing programs can be handled in-house, either by one marketer or a small department, but depending on the number of projects, the frequency and complexity of those projects, you may decide to invest in your own marketing department. Perhaps you'd consider outsourcing to one of the 13,000 marketing agencies available. Now, consider this. The cost of a seasonal national marketer can run in the medium range of $80,000, or roughly $40 an hour. Can you afford that? So it may be prudent to test your mettle with an outsourcing agency prior to engaging in insourcing or in-housing of those areas, opting to pay the retainer fees of an advertising agency and the retainer costs instead of a full cost of an employee. Nonetheless, with the explosion of marketing software and the internet, you may be able to sample some freelance work, perhaps contract help on a flat or per project basis. Furthermore, there are many marketing consultants out there, yours truly, that charge a flat fee plus a percentage of growth of business generated through the campaigns. Especially if your project is digital in nature, you can take those. Now remember that local and regional projects will always be a good place to start before you expand to more complicated national and international. Now these freelancers do tend to charge somewhere between 7% to 10% rather than the 15% of the advertising agencies. So last but not least, consider the cost of the affiliated marketing models where you reach out to complementary companies and work together to recoup or to gather your best customers as champions of your products. You offer them some rewards, and in the past this used to be known as referral. Now it's called affiliate programs. Now, should you decide to outsource this aspect of your business, please consider that consultant will want your business to have a product catalog that is priced competitively and ready for consumption, with a pricing model of cost plus IMU plus markup, premium pricing, bulk discounts, wholesale tiers, or run-off leaders. Now this will obviously accelerate their implementation of the marketing campaigns and will ensure your success. Let's talk about outsourcing versus insourcing now. So what is that like? So, should you relinquish such an important part of your growth to a perfect stranger rather than an imperfect friend? Well, certainly the resources necessary to run this campaign can be a lot more than you might have expected and cost a lot more than you were willing to invest in an in-source department, right? If only for that reason, this might be justification enough. But the reality is that even advertising and marketing agencies are having a hard time assimilating the necessary skills and technology needed to integrate this traditional advertising into a cohesive, integrated marketing plan. So according to Inc.Plan's top 5,000 agencies report, IPG, Omnicom, Publicis, WPP, BBDO, okay, Leo Burnett, they're among the biggest agencies in the world. They're responsible for iconic ads like the Marlboro Man from Philip Morris. Now, these agencies and these ads have made indelible impressions in our collective consciousness, and for that, the advertising agencies are nicely rewarded. But even these companies continue to merge for size and scope to keep up with those emerging technologies. Now, the times have changed, and we are no longer a nation of naive followers, but rather a culture of individuals seeking personal expression and attention. Perhaps this is why most large enterprises are willing to manage a roster of anywhere between 50 and 100 agencies. As Forbes.com reported, instead of consolidated to one or two. I think this is an ever-changing era where every 18 months there's a new technological advance that revolutionizes and disrupts established norms of conduct in the business. So at this point, you can no longer just pick one partner. You have the advertisers, just like consumers, that want the flexibility of many options, if only to keep the agencies as transparent as possible. Everybody's working hard to understand the next big thing and how the advertisers can earn another consumer in this faster-than-light economy. But it's not as easy as it once was. So advertising agencies have a hard time justifying that their advertising drives as many sales as expected. Direct marketing agencies went a long way and further in setting up these transactional models to set up and monitor these. But both of them continue to have difficulties evolving to the urgency of now and the web of tomorrow. For example, take a simple paper sheet or a pen, right? The ink, the color, everything needs to be chosen before it's sent out. What ink, soy-based, varnish, CMYK, PMS, Pantone. But any of these variables can only be printed once in a 4:1 color. Now, digital and web press came along and personalized this to some extent. However, once the message is printed, whether it be indicative, imperative, receptive, persuasive, or active, it's not going to be printed again. So that impression has been made. It's not contextual. It's not real time. It really isn't personalized. And we're not even discussing the mailing, the mail purge, the address verification, the USPS delivery, the postages, the sorting, the mailing, and the waiting for the reply. So, to make matters worse, the internet has taken that process and allowed advertisers to make those very same decisions in real time, every single time, for every single customer, as the letter is displayed on different platforms like the web, cell phones, tablets, desktops, televisions, radio, print, wearables. So it is tough, and I think they will continue to have a hard time. This feat of flexibility and physical work, at least for another 5 to 10 years. And if you take the singularity into consideration, it really could take 50 to 100 years for the physical world to embrace the digital one. Okay, so now that you understand a bit more about the role of advertising and marketing in your business development strategy, I want to give you a snapshot of the salaries that you will need to consider in your business or marketing plans in order to justify the investment in your desired business goals. Now remember that the same research used to start your business can also be used to plot your next career move with the full confidence that you are making the right decisions and asking for the right remuneration. Okay? Research has been conducted through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov, the 2010 US Census, census.gov, and salary.com. Okay? So, we're looking at the code based on income tax returns filed. April 15th is just around the corner. Employment categories, and of course, number of workers, yearly salary, broken down by hourly. There are two, okay? You have strategic and tactical, the suits and the creatives. Now the suits, marketing managers, public relations specialists, they range from top to bottom. Now the marketing managers make about $130,000 a year, or $65 an hour. The public relations about $30 an hour, so about $30 difference between the top and the bottom of the tier at the executive level. Now, in terms of the actual number of the bunch, right? Now, those are the marketing, PR, and sales managers. There's 588,110. Those are ones that filed income tax returns, okay? And they make about 121,061 an hour. PR relations specialists are at the bottom, okay? And those are advertising and promotion managers, which is about 28,420. They make about 54 an hour. So, let's go into tactical workforce, okay? The spectrum really broadens quite nicely. At the bottom of the pile, we have photographers. There's 56,140 of them, according again to this report, give or take a few. And they make about 36,000 a year, or about $18 an hour. At the top of the chain, in terms of the number of employees, we're looking at writers and editors, graphic designers, 191,000, and art and design workers in general, which is about 500,000, right? 620. So from a numbers perspective, you know, art and design workers, right? It's a pretty good life, right? You get to wear jeans, you get to hang loose, you get to get creative. You know, the executives, we got to talk about money, okay? Boring. So, as I mentioned, you know, you're looking at about 18 an hour at the top, 47 an hour for the creators, about $30 difference between the top and the bottom, so about $15 an hour difference. And of course, you're looking at the executives between 65 an hour and 30, again about $30, $30 difference between the two of them, okay? So $30 in the two. Okay, we're gonna cut that part. The full matrix is available on my marketing blog at www.thewirelesscowboy.tv, or you can see it on page 13 of the printed report. So this is Rick from the wirelessproducer.com and the wirelesscowboy.tv, coming to you live from the WPLV 24 virtual studio. Don't forget to check out the printed report available through MacCloud on my marketing blog at the wirelesscowboy.tv, and through any of my social media accounts at YouTube, Ustream, and of course Twitter. So I'll see you next month. We're going to be talking about digital marketing, and of course, that promises to be an exciting episode.